This daf Yerushalmi Eruvin in the article Oz V'Addition and Daf Tesva Marav, the 8th line down, 2 dots, which in the Vilna is on the Yudal on the base, the 3rd line down, Evan Achas Gdoila. So as we said yesterday, you need by possibility you need to have a dumet, a double-sided post at the corner, 6 on this side, 6 on that side. What if you have a block of wood, which is 6 by 6 fachim, but it's in a square? So, do I look at it as if it's 6 by 6 tvachim, 2 posts, or not? So the Gemara says that if it's divided, I'll explain what that means in a moment. Yesh b'shish l'kan shish has 6 on each side, and yidonim mishum diyomed, so it counts as a diyomed. Isai shim ticha cake if it's carved out. So boy man wanted to say, what's the difference? If techal cake or techal lake. So mandamar techal cake, moy mifnim. So the fancy pictures in the article, but let's use the simple picture of Chaim. It's a little bit clearer. Techal cake means like this. You engrave it out on the inside, so you get those outer dimensions. You get the 6 by 6. But in order to have the 6 by 6, it has to be a little bit larger. Because the mesh on the inside where you carved out. So the outside has to be a little bit more than 6 by 6. See? This is mine that might take a lake, just divide in half, and then you get to take a 6 by 6, even 6 by 6 precisely. Right? So therefore, the mine might take a cake, mother ifnim. Mine take a lake, mother measure on the outside. So ifnim need a little bit more than 6 vachim. If milchutz need precisely only 6 vachim. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Yosef said, "Below od, in the final analysis, isn't it the final klipas hashum, which is a minuscule thickness? Because no thickness, the human doesn't require thickness, so it's a minuscule thickness. It's klipas hashum, the peel of garlic, that additional thickness which you need. I have a low shine ben man mashim techlei ben man shitochek more than bifnim. He concedes that it's on the inside, meaning that it's you don't need that. You don't need anything significantly more. Even if you measure on the inside, it's more or less the same shear. Obviously, you can't be precise in any event. I'm saying precisely, so therefore, it's more or less the same thing. This does seem to be a final analysis, a theoretical difference, but it's not significant. So that can't be, he's saying, what he's really saying is that, well, there's not enough kamina, so therefore, that can't be the machine techal cake or techal lake. We're not making a big tzimis, a big deal about the difference between a klipas hashum more, klipas hashum less. Must see there's another difference between techal cake and techal lake. So he says, man techal cake bagula. He says that in techal cake says it's talking about even if it's a round stone, it can work. Here the article comes in a bit handy. In other words, it's like this. Like this picture over here. So shin techal cake means you can take the round stone and look at it as if it's square. That works. Manar shin techal lake says no, you can't chop. Can't look at it as if it's chopped off and it's squared. If it would start rounded, all you can do is look at it that if it's square, as if it was 2-sided. Okay. Manar shin techal cake bagula. Mandamar shin techal lake bimrubas. So the manar techal cake holds there are 2 rowings, right? You row it as if it's square, and then you row it as if it has 2 posts on each side. Mandamar techal lake says only 1 rowing. You look at it as if it's 2-sided, but you would not be able to take a round stone and look at it as if first it's squared and then it's the two sides. Taylor Shukain, you should know this is in fact the difference. To Kain Tanya, this is what he learned. Kain Tanya Mesa Chavrei. This is what one Tana asked to his friend. Ain't but there's no machine. What I'm saying, you're saying Bagula. You're saying it's a round stone. Vanil merubas, and I say it has to be a square stone. Now the Reb Chaim suggests inamilo pliga. He says perhaps they don't really argue. It's just semantics. In other words, in Allah they both agree you can't say trade. First he wants to say that there's a machlekes between the two opinions whether you can say trade rowing or only one rowing. Then he says, nah, maybe not. Maybe it's just a matter of semantics. They were talking about different scenarios. Well, it's talking about it's not really semantics, right? But different scenarios. One is round and one is square. But they both agree that it works by both. Okay. Anyway, so that's Gemara can be learned either way. It's not clear from the Gemara. Then we have the next case. Hayasham chritz. Okay, there's a charitz. And we had this back in the first part. She says Yerushalmi that a charitz going down can be a wall just like a wall coming out of the ground. Balvi doesn't have this kind of halacha. But in the Yerushalmi had a ray. First parak. There's a nicer picture in the article. Let me just get a hold of it. See, there's a charitz here. Instead of being outcropping, it's an indentation in the ground. And you want to use this as a diomid. So, like I showed you, I don't know if I showed you a little bit too quickly, but there's actually an indentation in the ground. Okay, so if you had a chritz which is 10 tefachim deep and 4 tefachim wide, in other words, that's probably a better picture for that purpose. That's to meet the criteria of being a significant hole. Otherwise, it doesn't have a chashivas of being if it's outcropping, it doesn't have to have a shear because a wall is a wall. But if it goes down the ground, it's not going to be a significant hole unless it has at least 4 tefachim of width. Actually, the article probably is better for this purpose too. I'm not sure how clear it's going to be, but the 4 tefachim he has, you can see the 4 tefachim there. Okay, so the yes shishakan, let's say it's 6 by 6. Nidam shum diameter. That works. Low soft of a chritz, and it's not just a chritz. El afilu gav shushis mikzaso gav shushis even it's a mound. But miktsasa chritz, miktsasa gav shushis. Part of it is a mound, and part of it is actually a depression. So I know there are two possibilities of the article. The simple possibility is the one on this side. We have part of it, and it's hard to even tell in this picture, but part of it is a indentation of 5 tefachim deep. And the other part is a mound of 5 tefachim high. So you can be mitzaref the part which is 5 tefachim in the ground with the part which is 5 tefachim above the ground. There's the other picture, but I'm not going to try and get into that. Too complicated for now. Are you chamisha kanim? If you have 5 kanim. Okay, you have sticks. 2 on this side, 2 on that side, and 1 in the corner. So are you chamisha kanim? If ein ben zeh shlosha, shlosha, this is less than 3 tefachim between them. So it's leveled. Yeshem shish lokan shish kan, and all together you have 6 tefachim on each side. Nidim shum diamet. That's valid to diamet. Okay, so now what about shleisha? You have 3 sticks. Because are gemi, and you made it put a tzursa pesach on them. You put a piece of bulrush on top. That's this one over here. Right? Right. So you have a piece of gemi on top. Klum peh matzah. So maush yasim mishum peh. That's working on tzursa pesach. So she says Yerushalmi is that a tzursa pesach it's not going to work on 2 sides. Tzursa Pesach, I don't think we have this in the Bavli at all. Tzursa Pesach only works if it closes an area. If an area is enclosed. You can't just put up a Tzursa Pesach on one side and say, okay, it's the Tzursa Pesach or Tzursa Pesach, 2 sides of the Tzursa Pesach. It has to be part of an enclosure. So therefore, the Yerushalmi says, Klum peh matzah shtei muchachas mikol to the there. The Tzursa Pesach work unless it's clear on all sides. In other words, that it's part of a full enclosure. El behein da'aglin. We're talking about where it is, here aglin doesn't really mean literal, but it means surrounded. And the Korban Eidah picture is like here in Tzir Zion, but the Chaim and others say that that's a mistake. For some reason the article goes to the Korban Eidah picture, but so I'll show you the picture. his pictures like this, where you so therefore you made it. Have to make it like you have to make it like this on the bottom, with four sides. But that's not the simple pshat. The simple pshat is like Reb Chaim has here, and make sure it goes on all sides like a triangle. So, and in that case, if it goes on all sides like a triangle, kasasimu, then it's like it's closed off, and that's fine. So it's like it's like a block now. So just like a block before, we said techolek. Here too, afhacha came, right? So here too is the same afhacha. Here it's the same thing. I put the dot here after hacha for some reason. I don't know why I did that. It's not the pshat. But it's just Amar Afhacha Kain. You see it said here. It says more. No, that's not necessarily true because remember, she does Yerushalmis need Tzuras Pesach on all four sides. So Tama there we're doing the actual structure. So you can move to carve out the entire inside of your block, and you still have the klipas hashum on each side and the outside, and that's a wall. But here, but here, how can you do that? You take out the inner side, the hypotenuse of the triangle, or according to carbonate of the inner two sides. So you can't cancel your Tzuras Pesach because again, according to Yerushalmi, you can't see Tzuras Pesach on two sides. If it's part of a full hekef, and if you're going to take out that third or the third and fourth sides, so it's not going to work. So therefore here, by Tzuras Pesach, it can't work in lieu of a diumit. It's not going to work out. Okay, this is Yerushalmi, a koisel, a wall, va'ilon, and a tree, va'ish's kanin, and a thicket of reeds. Nidorim mishum diumit. They can all serve as a diumit. But only if they came up on their own, metalin ad beis sign. You can use up the base of sign because it wasn't made to be an enclosure. It has to be in order to it's not made an enclosure. Or you can close up to the base of sign if it's natural. In order to work from more base sign, you have to be something. It has to be artificial. A son biyad. If you made, doesn't mean necessarily you have to make the whole thing. You just have to put something there artificial besides the natural structure. Crime. You can make even it can work even for a large enclosure. So you can use a natural wall, but a natural wall only works up to the base of sign. For more than that, you need to have some artificial addition to it. Let's say you had a very large bear. It made for half of it a pasi biros, and the other half not. Going to the article, it cheers like this. I'm not sure so clear it is. So it's part of it is outside the pasi biros. Maybe a little bit clearer. Basically the same thing. Not just basically, exactly the same thing. All right, it's a little bit out, sticking a little bit outside. So again, it's going to go chetzi asa, chetzi losa. The chetzi shlosa mutzar, the chetzi shlosa aser. The half which you made it for is mutzar, the half which you didn't make it for is aser. Hoyu stein. So what if you have two? So very different pictures in the article in the Reb Chaim, this one. According to the article, this is the picture. You had really three beros, and for two of them you made pasi biros, and the middle one didn't have a pasi biros, but it's in the middle of two beros which did have pasi biros. That's how he learns the case. Who's that from? Korban Ada. The Reb Chaim says that this is the case. You had two biros. You had the human in the middle, which has to do double duty. It has to be for both this one and for this one. So what about that? That's the case according to him. So, according to the article, the middle bear, according to the Reb Chaim, the middle Yomdin. Do they work? Do they work for? They work for. They both work for both. So matzu tzrichale. When is this a question? The kshu malin. When they were kshu when they were two people separate on each one. I mean, but if there's one which is using both of them, so then nidon lekan. It can work for both. So again, according to Reb Chaim, the question is when they have two separate people. Do I say the Duma does double duty or not? But if there's one person who's using both, so then that means the one group using both. So then it work according to the article's picture. Two people in the outer boros, then the middle bar has nothing. But if the same person using the two outer boros, the middle bar is included as well. So it's difficult to understand. So according to Reb Chaim, why should it not be good? So the Or Sameach has a different shot here. There are many several shots, but the Or Sameach shot is like this, and this is what I'm not sure. I don't have a better picture. I'm just going to show you my Gemara the way I put it. You only have 5. You're missing a diamond. Where is it here? Over here. Yeah. Diamond, it's not drawn with precision, but you have diamond on the 4 corners, and here you have a middle diamond there, but not diamond on the other side. See that? So in that case, if they're both being mishamish the same person, so then it's one large enclosure. It's fine. They're being both mishamish 2 separate people, no good, because each one is missing a diamond. I think it's the best shot. That's Or Sameach. Here has a more complicated picture, but it's basically the same principle, like that. See, so each one has half a structure on the outside, and the middle one has. This case, you hold 3 boroughs again. So there, the question is, if you look at the outside and just ignore the inside. But I think the Sameach's approach is the easiest, the most glatt one. Again, I'll show you again. So I'll show you the last. The best for best last. This case over here. I see now Chilufik Yerushalmi Eruvin. He does bring down the Chaim shot, but again, as I said, I think the Or Sameach shot is the best. Okay, so next Gemara, most unfortunately, including the article, could change the gears, but not the Or Sameach. Chotzer b'such lepasim. You have a chotzer that's open to pasim. Yeah, I have a picture over here. Chotzer b'such lepasim, right? Chotzer open to pasim. So you have a metal mir chotzer pasim. You can carry from the chotzer to the pasim, and here's where they change gears to umina pasim chotzer. You can carry from the chotzer to the pasim, umina pasim chotzer, which is like the bavli. But the Or Sameach says no. Let's didn't change gears because later on halacha hey we have a similar thing where it says that you can be metaltel from a chotzer shipsuch lekarpaf, metaltel min chotzer lekarpaf of lo min karpaf lechotzer. So the Or Sameach says it's the Shitas Yerushalmi where you have 2 rishuyos, separate rishuyos of one person, and one is parts of the other. They're separate rishuyos. The din is you're allowed to carry from the place which is not parts, to the place which is parts, but not from the place which is parts to the place which is not parts. So you can carry from the chotzer, which is not parts, to the pasim, which are parts, but not a place from the pasim, which are parts, to the chotzer, which is not parts. And the Or Sameach explains the reason he says that's the case because, like the Bavli says, the upside base of Dure Gdola B'Ktana, Vein Dure Ktana B'Gdola. The larger chotzer takes over the smaller chotzer, and not vice versa. So here too, the makom she'ena parts takes over a place which is parts. Place which is parts cannot take over the place which is ain't parts. He gave from the chotzer to the pasim, but not from the pasim chotzer. So that way the girsa would be as it is here. But regardless of shtaim osir, if there are 2 chatzeros, it's osir, and the chiddush is that there's only shituf by mavui. There's no shituf by pasim biros. So the passeros here we have a chutz on one side, chutz on the other side. Passeros in the middle, like two chutzeros and a mavui. And in mavui, you could be able to make. Just like this case over here, mavui, you be able to make the mavui shituv vos, so you can carry from the chutz to the chatzeres to the mavi and back and forth, and between two chatzeres. They didn't make such that kana by pasibiros. Chaim notes that, of course, it's like the kelim sheshav subzachabais. Kelim sheshav subzachabais would require a shituv vos from the front to the other, but those kelim from one house out into the next one, but came to shav some mavi l'chutz you can carry from one to the other. So that is the Gemara goes on now. That's the end of Tesvav on base. Gemara goes on to say that I'm going to leave this to tomorrow, but I just want to show that it goes on. There's even a case of one chatzer with two houses, which is it's here over here at the top. It'd also be a problem. Okay, but then we're discussing that at some length, so we'll leave that for tomorrow.